How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a video on 10 cheap and fun cars that you can buy for under £10,000. Now, I've done all sorts of different categories of cars, and for this video I just wanted to do cars that are genuinely fun to own and drive. Whether that's because they're really quick, or because they just have some amazing handling, or because they're just a pleasure to enjoy driving, I wanted to talk about 10 cars that I felt fit that kind of category. And if you enjoyed this kind of video and want to see it again at £5,000 instead, let me know by hitting the like button. 1,000 of you and I will do sub 5k, you know the drill. By the way, the cars are listed from slowest to fastest from 0 to 60, just to reduce bias on my side. Remember that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. Drop a comment to let me know your thoughts, subscribe as well if you're new, but without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's kick this video off with the Toyota GT86 with its 2-litre Boxer 4 engine, which puts out 197 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds. The idea behind this car is to be a small, light and easy to drive sports car, and from experience I can confirm Toyota and Scooby in partnership very much achieved this aim. The car isn't hugely fast, hence it sits at 10th on this list, but that doesn't really matter when you drive it, as the handling is so predictable and it really inspires confidence. It also has enough power to brake traction on the rear end and get the back moving around in a very comfortable manner, which enables you to feel like a bit of a pro drifter. It's also a great base for modifications if you're that way inclined, but it's already a nice place to be stock with a comfortable but plasticky interior. These are listed for a minimum of around £8,000 but have only recently dropped below 10 grand, so you're looking at around 90,000 miles on the clock for that kind of money. As Toyota, these have proven to be reliable as well, and the only issue I could find relates to the second gear synchros. Next up is a car that I'm not personally hugely into, but really respect how fun it is, the Abarth 595 Competizione, with its 1.4 litre turbocharged inline 4, which makes 180 brake horsepower, the least on this list, but taking it to 60 in a relatively punchy 6.6 seconds. I've not yet driven one of these, but having been driven in one, I can confirm they're an absolute riot. The cabin makes you feel like you're in something much more purpose-built than a small Fiat, particularly thanks to its Sabelt sports seats, and the car has a good soundtrack considering the small engine thanks to the dual mode exhaust. It's very much a point and squirt experience in the corners, assisted by sports brakes and a sportier suspension setup. One key benefit of owning one of these is there's a huge fan base behind them, so in terms of getting into a car community of like-minded people, this is a great offering too. Try going to a car show or Caffeine and Machine or anywhere like that and you'll no doubt see a bunch together. £7,000 is the minimum you'll find these listed for, and for 10 grand you're looking at a 2015 example with around 30 to 40,000 miles on it. Other than some lemons, as a relatively new car there aren't many common problems on these around, and though some owners have noted issues with some of the infotainment and other electrical issues, the only point I could consistently find was people complaining about squeaks and rattles from the interior. Very few cars get raved about as much by owners as performance mini hatches, and you can see why, as the R56 John Cooper Works is a lot of car for the money. It has a 1.6 litre turbocharged inline 4 putting out 208 brake horsepower, which gets it from 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Now the key reason why these are such specifically fun cars is how great they are as track day beasts. You can of course have a bunch of fun in these on the roads, but they really come alive on track, hence this R56 chassis has been used in different mini race series here in the UK. In JCW spec you benefit from a car that is loosely based on the JCW Challenge race car, though it is basically the same as a Cooper S with more power from the engine, matched with a freer flowing exhaust system, stiffer sports suspension, lightweight alloys, Brembo brakes and the 3 key electronic BMW stability systems. With minimal modifications then, you're ready to tear up the track, or if you prefer dirt, these were also used in a one make support series for the British Rallycross Championship, showing their versatility. £5,000 is the minimum I could find these listed for, and for £10,000 you're looking at a 2012 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock. I recommend aiming for a newer one of these from 2011 onwards with the updated N18 engine, as the N14 was renowned for having timing chain issues. The N18 has so far been more dependable, so worth spending the extras to get one of these. This one's slightly different than some of the other cars on this list. It's the Mercedes SL 500 with its 5 litre V8 engine putting out 306 brake horsepower, which gets from 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. But this car isn't really about that 0 to 60. The reason why I included it is because it fulfills many many purposes. It looks pretty, it goes fast, it's a certified future classic based on the previous cars in its lineage, and it's the ideal car to waft around in. Having driven one, it is quick, particularly in terms of its in-gear performance, which enables some of its wafting abilities. It's a sports car that isn't massively sporty, with greater focus on being a classy cruise that you could roll around slowly in with the roof down in summer, looking wealthy, at least back in the early 2000s. It didn't handle amazingly well when I took one out on track a while ago, but it did hold its own considering it weighs over 2 tons when fully fueled, and it really wasn't designed to go on track, especially as it isn't an AMG example. £6,500 is the lowest that I could find these listed for, and for 10 grand you get a 2003 example with around 60 to 70,000 miles on the clock. Now these could be expensive to fix if they go wrong, but the key problems I could find weren't catastrophic, more like a water leak in the boot and from the roof, the folding roof moving slowly, and some other electrical issues. Do be aware this car is not cheap to run though, so your wallet might not have so much fun. I've spoken about the Megane RS in a recent video, but every time I see one it gets me gassed again. This French beast has a 2-litre turbocharged inline 4, putting out 261 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. These are fun for the same reason as the JCW, they are crazy fun on track and handle amazingly well. I have never seen more Megane RSs in one place in the time that I went to the Nürburgring a few years ago, and it felt like at least one in every 4 or 5 cars that came flying past me was a Megane with a tow hook and some track rubber. Therefore, if you're buying one of these for the handling and track fun reasons that I've mentioned, try to find a Cup example which has a stiffer chassis, track focused suspension, an LSD and less weight. You can usually tell a Cup example apart from a standard model by its red calipers. These are listed for a minimum of around £7,000, with 10 grand getting you a 2010 example with around 50 to 70,000 miles on the clock depending on spec. This car has thus far been surprisingly reliable, but the cam belt and water pump need to be changed on time. There are some known issues like oil leaks, a clicking sound from the flywheel, and a noisy gearbox due to wear. Check service history on these for sure. If you're enjoying the video, I wanted to remind you 1,000 likes and do the same thing at sub 5k. Go follow me on Instagram at carswithjb as well if you want to see me post almost every single day, and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on my 2 videos every single week. One of my personal favourites now, and a car I'll probably buy in the future, the Subaru Impreza WRX or WRX STI. I'll focus on the WRX for this video as it's the more reliable of the two, and reliability is the most important factor in long-term fun. It has a 2-litre turbocharged Boxster 4 which puts out 221 brake horsepower and gets the car to 60 in 5.7 seconds. The WRX and STI Scoobies can offer fun in numerous different ways. On the one hand, lots of people like to modify them and have fun by making them their own, or by making them very fast, or both. On the other hand, people like to race them, either in rally style events, which probably means a pretty major overhaul of the car, or just on track days, which you can do with just a few small mods. Given the car's rally pedigree, it'd be rude not to. With these, you of course also have the benefit of going for any of the different facelifts that the car received, and my personal favourite is the Blob Eye. This is easily the cheapest car on this list in WRX spec, starting at £2,500, with 10 grand getting you a well looked after example, or a Hawkeye WRX STI if you fancy your chances with the 2.5 litre block. The WRX does have some known issues, but that block is much better than the 2.5 litre in the Hawkeye STI, which is renowned for head gasket failure and piston rings being poor. Watch for rust on these, particularly near the back of the rear wheel arches and on the subframe. For now, the Nissan 350Z offers one of the most fun packages for under £10,000 and has done for quite some time. It has a 3.5 litre V6 engine putting out 295 brake horsepower in GT spec, which gets from 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. Like the Scooby, these are great cars for modifications, as show cars, track cars or drift cars. For that reason then, kinda like owning an MX-5, these can provide fun to anyone who's after doing a bit of DIY to achieve their ideal type of 350Z, and you really don't need to break the bank to achieve your targets on these. The good thing with these is that probably someone else has already done the mods you'd be thinking about, and they've probably made a forum post about it, so relatively easy to learn how to do jobs on as well. Search budget drift 350Z build on Google and you'll see just what I mean. As a Z car, I do reckon these will go up in value in the future though, so it might be one to enjoy while they're still relatively cheap. £5,000 the minimum that I could find these listed for, and for 10 grand you'll find a 2007 example with around 60 to 70,000 miles on the clock. You want to aim for an example from 2007 to 2008, as these are known to be the best on reliability thanks to some changes by Nissan, but common problems include burning through oil, poor interior build quality and some issues with the synchros. Taking third in this video is the all-wheel drive Audi S3 with its 2-litre turbocharged inline 4, which puts out 261 brake horsepower and takes the car to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Until 2011, the S3 was the top of the line for the Audi A3 line, and though it did away with the well-loved 1.8T engine in the previous gen, it also massively modernised the offering to something you'd still be comfortable in and proud of today. The gearbox is close ratio, so it feels like you're hammering through the gears, and with the uprated suspension and brakes, it feels planted too. The reason why I've included it in my list of fun cars is the fact that it's an all-wheel drive hot hatch rather than your average front-wheel drive. This helps it to become an incredibly fun car that is highly capable in differing conditions, with loads of owners noting how much fun the car is to drive in the snow, getting controllable four-wheel drift. Again, £5,000 the minimum that I could find these listed for, and for £10,000 you'll be looking at a 2007 example with around 70 to 90,000 miles on the clock. Watch for coil packs, window regulators, ABS control modules, thermostats and the DSG automatic box on these. Owners suggest you to change the cam follower and oil pickup pipe for a total cost of around £80 for peace of mind too. Just missing out on the top spot is one of the more expensive cars on this list, the Porsche Boxster 987 S, which has a 3.2 litre flat 6 engine, putting out 280 brake horsepower, which gets the car from 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. So why is the Boxster a fun car? Ignoring the fact that it's a convertible sports car, which is always a recipe for fun, it's a Porsche and therefore benefits from great geometry and handling, so it really does feel like a premium sports car of its age. On top of this, that badge holds its own prestige, which gives you a heightened sense of achievement, even if you know you spent less than 10 grand on the car. And finally, as it's a Porsche, you can begin your newfound career as a massive Porsche enthusiast. Compared with the 986, it has a stiffer chassis and wider track, with an uprated and more premium cabin too, so it's a great handling car while also being a nice place to be. The only bad thing is that you can't get the refreshed Gen 2 987 for your 10k anymore. £8,000 the lowest you'll find an S listed for, and for 10 grand you'll get a 2005 model with around 100,000 miles on the clock. Bore scoring and IMS bearing failure is the key problem known on these, and Porsche Club GB recommend going for a Gen 2 with the 3.4 block or a non-S if you're worried about either of these. That's the one thing I'd say that isn't fun about this car, the cost of repairs. Taking the top spot in this video is the E90 series BMW 335i with its 3-litre twin turbocharged inline 6 engine, which makes 301 brake horsepower and takes the car to 60 in 5.3 seconds, matching the Boxster. And for your reference, it comes the E90 Saloon, E91 Estate, E92 Coupe and the E93 Convertible. What makes these fun but also a headache is that N54 engine. These are fast stock and they can be made a lot faster relatively easily, as I've seen some owners with remapped examples putting out upwards of 350 brake horsepower and others talking about getting over 500 brake horsepower for less than 2 grand. I can promise from experience, if you can get an extra 200 brake horsepower for that kind of money, it's unreal value. So if mad tuning potential and severe amounts of power available is your kind of thing for fun, and I know there's a big market for that on YouTube, this might be the right car on this list for you. Not to mention the fact that these look good literally with a set of coilovers and some nice alloys. Plus, as a rear-wheel drive BMW, of course they are driftable. These are listed for a minimum of around £5,000, which is crazy, as I can remember when these were tough to find for 10k. Now, £10,000 will get you a 2008 model with around 60 to 80,000 miles on the clock. The high pressure fuel pump is the key problem that these have had, and though many were replaced under warranty, this remains an issue. You'll likely find the majority of these on the market have had theirs replaced at some point. There are some other known issues that sometimes get overlooked too, like wastegate rattle, fuel injector issues, valve cover and gasket leaks, and water pump failures. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit the like button, I would really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks to the patrons for their continued support, and you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.